The Spooktacular Stroll, CNY's not-so-scary Halloween experience for the family, is back. Walk through the half-mile trail in the Bewitched Woods at Long Branch Park in Liverpool every Thursday through Sunday in October from 5 to 9 p.m. Pack the car full of your little goblins. Admission is by the carload. Upstate Golisano Children's Hospital's Spooktacular Stroll is presented by Upstate Honda Dealers. Get your pre-sale tickets today at spooktacularstroll.com.
ESPN Radio. Tomorrow's broadcasting stars today. Broadcasting live from the campus of Syracuse University. This is Newhouse Afternoon.
Welcome to Us Afternoon. I'm Jacob Charno, joined with my co-host Maria Wainscott, and welcome back Ari Feinstein, ESPN 97.7 Syracuse and QSportsTalk.com. Guys, we got a lot to talk about. Let's get right into it with that tough game for Syracuse football last night. They lose to Pitt 41-13. Let's hear your thoughts, Maria. Let's start with you.
Oh, you guys, man, that was a tough one, but we're really excited that we get to talk about Syracuse football here. We normally do the look forward to what the game would be like tomorrow, but we get to do the recap because it happened last night. My overall takeaway, no more bye weeks for Syracuse football ever, especially not when we are on a roll. We were just starting to get right after that tough loss to Stanford. We saw it against Stanford in that loss. Syracuse came out of the bye week strong and well rested, but some might say they were too well rested. We let a lot of mistakes slide, and we saw the same thing against Pitt last night.
Yeah, you hit it right on the head. These bye weeks, they're hurting us. I mean, honestly, we don't need them anymore. We saw it in Stanford, like you mentioned, and we just saw it last night. Syracuse arguably played their toughest game on offense last night. Obviously, McCord throwing 5 interceptions, 3 in the first half, or 2 pick sixes in the first quarter. So it was just a tough night for Syracuse's offense.
I mean, look, Kyle McCord has been talked about on pace to break a bunch of records here at this school, but the only one so far, I mean, there's 2, but the main one was last night. He tied the record for most interceptions in a game in school history. Arguably one of the worst quarterback performances that we've seen in who knows how long from this team. But on the bright side, I'm really not too worried about Kyle McCord. I mean, we've seen him slice and dice up defenses all season. One bad game, unfortunately, it was probably the most crucial game of the season, but nonetheless, I'm not too worried.
Absolutely. I mean, hey, you touched on the record-breaking interceptions, record-tying interceptions. I want to talk a little bit about the good here. It's his 7th straight game with 300-plus passing yards. That's a record for a Syracuse quarterback. And you know what? This Pittsburgh team is not one to look over. They entered this season with just a 5.5 projected win total. They've already surpassed that even without last night's win, and they're off to their best start since 1982 when Dan Marino was quarterbacking the program and they were off to a 6-0 start. Before last night's game, McCord was 8th among all signal callers in America with a 90% PFF grade this season, while his 21 big-time throws, which are the toughest throws to make in deep passing coverage, it was tied for the most in the entire football subdivision. So those stats are definitely going to take a hit after last night, but not all hope should be lost. The reason that we're here, the reason that the Syracuse program is what it is this year, is because of Kyle McCord. So I really hope the fan base is not too shaken up by losing to a really formidable Pitt team.
Yeah, and last night in McCord's post-game presser, right, he was just as down on himself as ever, right? But one of the biggest things that he said is that we cannot let the current trajectory of Syracuse football, having a great first start of the season and then kind of falling off a cliff in the second half. He says we have too much talent for that to happen this year, and I won't let that happen. So big words from McCord last night, and I think that he'll live up to his words and lead this team to hopefully a win next week against Virginia Tech.
I agree, and I think there's also one piece that we need to talk about that not everyone is talking about from last night's game, which is the Syracuse defense. We saw some good stuff from them last night. For me, a true highlight was Marlowe Wax returning. I mean, we had a really tough roughing the passer call on a crucial 3rd and 13 play, but you know what, seeing him back out there, mobile, aggressive, making changes for our defense was just so encouraging, and I know moving forward he's going to help us get right after this tough loss.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can look at this game and say, okay, Pitt beat Syracuse, but in reality, Syracuse beat Syracuse in this game. They shot themselves in the foot. Pitt had 144 passing yards, and they scored 41 points. That just doesn't happen. It makes no sense. 10 minutes into this game, Syracuse is down 17-0. We talked 2 weeks ago about these sloppy second quarters with Syracuse. This first quarter last night was not replicant or not familiar for what this team has done this season. The second quarter was, though.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And another thing to mention was last night is not only was the team super down on themselves, but Fran Brown also. His post-game presser was really sad to watch, honestly, because he apologized almost like last year when Adrian Autry, when Syracuse basketball got blown out by Wake Forest last year. Fran Brown walked up to the podium and he said, "I'm so sorry to everyone that's affiliated with Syracuse. This is not who we are, and we will get better next week."
Absolutely. I mean, he prides himself on Dart. Right? And that determination to get us right as a football team. And, this was supposed to be a statement win for him. This could have been the third ranked win of his entrance coaching era year. And it just didn't happen. I understand the sorry, right? But we've talked about it before many times in our show, the accountability that he takes, not just for the mistakes that he made as the coach and that the coaching staff made as a unit, but also that he didn't put his players in the right positions to make the best plays. So I think it's, again, a conversation about teamwork, a conversation about camaraderie, a conversation about unit strength. And honestly, it's just a testament to Pitt and who they are and how they played. They really studied. They became students of Syracuse's offense over the past weeks, and especially they capitalized on it over our bye week. I mean, they figured us out. For Pittsburgh to capitalize on Syracuse's strongest unit, which is our air raid attack, and they exploited us with one of their units that's one of the weakest. I mean, they have one of the weakest secondaries in all of the ACC, and we gave a guy like Rasheem Biles of Pitt, 12 tackles, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 1 interception, and a TD. I'm like, this is crazy, and Pitt deserves to take this win.
I mean, look, we've talked about it time and time again. When you're throwing the ball 64 times a game with Kyle McCord, there are going to be mistakes that happen. It was just inevitable, and it sucks that it happened in this game. But there's going to be a lot of shade thrown at Kyle McCord and a lot at Fran Brown. But in reality, nothing on this offense was working. LaQuinn Allen, 15 carries for just 32 yards. His longest rush was 8 yards. That is unacceptable. That can't happen. That's on everybody. That's on the offensive line. That's on the OC for not bringing that defense back a little bit, keeping them up. And I mean, yeah, everyone was making mistakes. As long as the rush was 8 yards, that it's not the way you're going to win football games. You have to be able to establish the run. It's something that we've talked about this entire season so far with this team. We said it was going to be a problem, and now it did.
Agreed. I mean, the other quick thing that I want to pick up on that you just mentioned is the ability to pivot, right? The game plan was to go in with this strong air raid attack that we have developed and established as our identity as a Syracuse team this season. But you know what? In that second quarter, when you're down 17-zip, you got to be able to pivot. You got to say, we got to run this ball. We got to get Kyle to stop throwing this thing. And it showed me a lot about Fran Brown, right? Like, he wanted to give Kyle the benefit of the doubt. He's like, let's stick to it. Let's just get out of this half without another pick. And that didn't necessarily happen because they weren't able to pivot their style of play.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things that I love about Fran Brown is that he trusts his players. Whether they make a mistake, whether they do something they're not supposed to, or even, throw a turnover or fumble the ball every once in a while, right? He still never loses his trust in his guys, and that goes a long way for a team to hold on to the locker room throughout the full season and ultimately build a winning culture here at SU. So, I mean, I give credit to Fran Brown here, and hopefully next week this team can just turn the page against Virginia Tech.
Yep. So speaking of next week, let's talk a little bit about their game next week against Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech this week has a big matchup. Maria, why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, let's chat about it. I mean, this is another opportunity for Syracuse to get right. So obviously coming in after this tough loss, I'm thinking Syracuse has the upper hand, but Virginia Tech this week has a tough one. They are currently sitting 4-3 and 2-1 in the ACC. They're going up against Georgia Tech, and they welcome them into Lane Stadium. Georgia Tech is currently 5-3. Of course, we handed them one of their tough losses of those 3. They're 3-2 in the ACC, and with a win, the Hokies can keep their dream of playing for the ACC championship alive, while a loss would send them back to 500 with upcoming games at Syracuse and Clemson. So they need this win really bad. Okay, and obviously a win over Georgia Tech would be great for them, but I think a loss is honestly tougher for us. Like, both coming in after tough losses, I don't know. Like, this is a gritty team. I watched them go up against Miami and almost defeat them. So I'm scared for what's to come in the Dome next week.
Yeah, I mean, Virginia Tech, like you said, 4-3, just a very solid team, 2-1 in the ACC. Like, this matchup, no matter what happens, I think is going to be tough for Syracuse next week. Georgia Tech could beat this team by 50. I'm still worried about them coming to the Dome next week.
Right.
With just the way that Syracuse is playing right now and after this past week. Like, there's not a team really that I feel like, oh, we're absolutely going to beat them. Probably the rest of the season.
Sure.
Honestly. So, I mean, Virginia Tech, they're so back. Like, I'm so back and forth on this team. Like, I really am.
I agree.
It's every year. But I think they definitely have a tough battle coming up against Georgia Tech, and they're going to be banged up going into that game too.
Yeah, I know we talked about the good and the bad with Syracuse football. Is there something that you saw against Pitt or maybe in the past couple of games that you think Syracuse football could bring into that matchup against Virginia Tech?
Honestly, I'm just saying, bring in that air attack again next week. I mean, McCord, he's thrown over 300 yards for 7 straight games. The game plan every week is going to be to throw the football. After every tough loss that they've had, well, just against Stanford, and now we're going to wait and see how they respond next week. They came out against Holy Cross the following week, and they blew them out. You know, they were like, all right, we faced adversity last week. We came back. We had a dominant game plan, and we just wiped them right out of our building. So you know what? Next week against Virginia Tech, they should have that same mentality. Last week, that wasn't who we were. That's not who we are currently. We still want to get a bowl game, and we still want to, hopefully, it's pretty much a long shot now, again, the ACC championship game, but it's not impossible yet. So if they come in next week with the same game plan, air attack, we're going to show the world who we really are, and last week was just a fluke, then they're going to win this game. So I genuinely think that this is going to be, next week is Syracuse is going to show its true identity against Virginia Tech again.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked enough about Syracuse football. When we come back, we're going to talk about the exciting upcoming Syracuse men's basketball season. So don't go anywhere. Newhouse Afternoon back in just a few minutes.
Cool.
Great job, y'all.
Great stuff.
Yeah,
Good
good start.
stuff.
Good start. What are you guys being for Halloween?
I am going to be Indiana Jones.
Me and my friend bought a couple of the Breaking Bad hazmat suits.
I love
just
it.
rocked that.
That's good.
Yeah.
I think a bunch of my friends and I, we're going to do tracksuits. There's going to be like 15 of us. We're all just going to be wearing different tracksuits.
Duh.
That's great.
I
Why not?
love that. That's so funny.
Tracksuits? Or like if you look up like an 80s tracksuit on Amazon, then like a bunch of different colors will pop up.
That is so funny.
And that's what we're rolling with. No, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Wait, what is happening?
Can't just do one color.
226 is our next one.
So, like, sneaky, you guys carry this basketball segment.
No worries.
I got a couple of things to say, but not a ton.
No, you're good. We're gonna let Ari pretty much lead in terms of what you want to talk about, but I'll set you up and stuff.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
I got a lot.
Yeah. What I can do too is kind of set the stage, like second year of Coach Autry era.
What do we have to look forward to?
Mm-hmm.
How long are the breaks again?
Well, back at 2:15.
How do you
Back
say
at
his name?
2:15. Cool. Jaquan Carlos. My dad just texted me, said tracksuits. That's a riot.
I love tracksuits. That'll be great.
Hey, Dad.
At first, I thought you were saying like a morph suit.
No.
No.
Like actual tracksuits.
Oh God. That'll be great. Is everyone going to be a different color?
Yes. Everyone has a different design.
Design.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We're going all out for this.
Wow. Sounds amazing.
This is what my dad just sent me.
That's amazing. Mr. Feinstein, I love that. That's great. Ooh. Amazing, thank you.
Cool.
All right. Great.
Here we go. Yep.
ESPN 97.7 and 100.1. Watch live on QSportsTalk.com. Tomorrow's broadcasting stars today. Broadcasting live from the campus of Syracuse University. This is Newhouse Afternoon.
Welcome back, Newhouse Afternoon, ESPN 97.7 Syracuse and QSportsTalk.com. I'm Jacob Charno, joined with my co-hosts Maria Wainscott and Ari Feinstein. This hour of Newhouse Afternoon is powered by Drivers Village Cicero. Go to dvoffers.com for more info. Now, like I said, we talked enough about the football team and all the downs there, but let's talk about a sport that is on the up right now that we're all excited for, and that is the men's basketball program here at SU. So, Ari, I will let you start with this. Second year of the Coach Autry era. What can we expect from the men's basketball team this season?
Yeah, super exciting time for Syracuse. After a really successful first year in the Coach Autry administration, we had an over 20-win season, and there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to replicate it this year. I think one of the biggest things last year that we lacked, which honestly didn't put us over the hump, was our lack of depth. And I think this year, Coach Autry, he utilized the transfer portal. He got an awesome 2024 class, and because of that, he's setting us up for a lot of success this season. A few of those transfers that I want to highlight is Jaquan Carlos, the guard from Hofstra. Last year, he was he was the CAA All-Defensive Team for the second consecutive year. He averaged 2 steals per game. He also went out and got Jair Davis, the UDEL forward, who had 8 double-doubles. He improved his free throw percentage last year from .657 to .814. So huge, and another big man for Syracuse. And lastly, the big guy that we got in the transfer portal from the Colorado Buffaloes is Mr. Eddie Lampkin. He is a 6'11", 280-pound monster who will dominate in the paint, get us tons of boards for this year. And we won't have to rely on last year. We relied on Malik Brown, who transferred to Duke, unfortunately. But we needed height. Height was the biggest issue last season. And with these transfers, I think Syracuse, we're going to be up and coming this season for another 20-win season, hopefully.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm really excited about this revamped team. It's sort of out with the old of Judah Mintz, Copeland, and Brown, and I really like the upgrades that you mentioned, and all the upgrades that Autry made through freshmen and now this veteran presence. You know, the additions of Freeman and more to make me really excited, and especially they add to that depth that you were talking about, and that's an issue that really, when you start the season, you don't think too much about, but as the season goes on and injuries come up, or you never know who is going to need to step up and fill a position. Now, you mentioned Eddie Lampkin, and I'm particularly interested in the Lampkin-Donnie Freeman duo this season. The makeup of Syracuse's power forward and center combo is so exciting. Between Freeman and Lampkin, it should be like the most amazing matchup to watch this season, pretty much against any opponent. The fact that Lampkin, can get these amazing shots from the perimeter, I think that is sort of a framework we haven't seen from Syracuse in the last couple years.
Yeah, I mean, look, we talked about height, and you mentioned Eddie Lampkin, but let's also not forget the return of Naheem McLeod.
Yeah.
And the thing with Coach Autry that I'm very excited about is that now, like we mentioned, all these transfers coming in here, all these recruits, Freeman, Elijah Moore, all these guys. Now, what you have is players that fit Coach Autry's culture. rather than Jim Boeheim's culture. And I think that's what is really, and I understand that they're from the same, he's from his coaching tree, but I think nonetheless they're very different coaches with very different vibes, and I'm very excited to see what these players can do for the Syracuse team this season.
Yeah, and another thing that Coach Autry has been so prominent in is making sure he has top recruiting classes. This offseason, him getting, for heading into this season, him getting Elijah Moore and Donnie Freeman, those two guys are going to pay off huge dividends for this SU team. He also went out and got Sadiq White from the 2025 class, another 5-star. And if you're not familiar with Donnie Freeman, he was the 6th top rank in the 2024 class, right? Huge. I mean, when's the last time Syracuse got a top 10 guy? I mean, Donnie Freeman, he's going to be everything and more for this SU team. He's going to have a lot of pressure on him because he's got a lot of high expectations. But him being a 5-star power forward from DC and playing on the Bahamas national team and being a McDonald's All-American while also averaging over 20 points per game in high school, he's going to have a lot of expectations, and hopefully he could live up to those expectations as well.
Absolutely. I think if he even plays to a shred of his full potential, he's going to be outstanding. His talent is really something to behold. He's 6'9". He's a forward who can put the ball on the floor, and he can shoot. I mean, he presents this skill set that Syracuse hasn't seen in a long time. We touched on it even before the show. And Benny Williams was sort of a similar versatile forward, except Freeman is just much more polished. I feel like we're going to see a lot less penalties from him. And despite his talent, the Orange won't have to rely on Donnie Freeman too much to create his own offense. Without Judah Mintz, though, I think it's going to be interesting. JJ Starling, I think, could become the focal point of the offense and continue his much improved play during the second half of the season. And all these factors combined together are really why I see Syracuse going really far this season and sort of jumping out of that bubble that they've been in the last 2 or 3 seasons, and they haven't been able to make the NCAA tournament. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I completely agree, and I was about to hit on this too. Just as impressive as the guys that you get as recruits and transfers are the guys that you bring back. And specifically, J.J. Starling and Chris Bell are going to be huge for the Syracuse team this season. Chris Bell specifically, I mean, you can open up the perimeter with him, really get that 3-point game going, because now you have those bigs that can both play defense and score points with Freeman and Freeman and Lampkin. Lampkin went out of my head. But Chris Bell, you open up that offense even more. J.J. Starling averaged 13 points per game last season. I think that number continues to increase into this season. And I think pretty quickly, you start to see a really cohesive offense on Coach Autry's team this season.
Yeah, I think last year, Judah Mintz, he was the guy. He was the playmaker last year. The whole offense ran through him. This year's a little bit different. We have a bunch of guys that the offense could be run through. Obviously, I think J.J. Starling, he's going to be the main guy because he's super familiar with this offense. It's going to be year 2, and he's going to be leading the team as a junior now. So, yes, it will be run through JJ, but like you said, Chris Bell, his lethal 3-point shot. I mean, when it's going, it is going, and shots are falling quick. And plus, guys like we mentioned, Donnie Freeman, and we don't know what these transfers are going to do yet. I mean, they could mesh into this offense really, really well, and the next thing you know, Syracuse is one of the most dangerous teams in the nation.
I agree.
We don't know what we're going to get.
And I think what's also really exciting, and you talked about Judah Mintz. Judah Mintz last year, great player, obviously, but he's taking 25, 30 shots a game. Now you can start spreading that ball out more, have all 5 guys involved in the offense, and makes it tougher to defend. It really does, and I think that's going to help this team for sure.
And Ari, I know you had some really interesting preseason predictions. Can you talk to us a little bit about the X factor of the year that you're really looking forward to? It's Chance Westry, and we don't know a whole lot about him.
Yeah, I think that's the most exciting part about him being my X factor for the 2024-2025 season is that Syracuse doesn't know anything about Chance Westry. They just know what he could be. Obviously, last season, he unfortunately went down with an injury and he was out, but he was supposed to play a really big role in the Syracuse offense. He transferred from Auburn his freshman year. He did okay, only averaged 4 or 5 points, but SU brought him in because they saw his potential and they know that he can live up to big expectations and hopefully be that second-hand man to J.J. Starling. So that's why Chance Westry is my X factor of the year. What do you guys think?
I think it's a great pick. I mean, honestly, there's so much unknown. I think I'm just curious to see how they fare tomorrow. I mean, we are less than 24 hours away from tip-off, and there's so many question marks in my eyes. But like I said, I really do agree with all of your predictions. You know, MVP for J.J. Starling, Rookie of the Year, Donnie Freeman, no question. Super excited to see what Eddie Lampkin can do, especially with those perimeter shots that I mentioned earlier. I just think that's going to revolutionize the offense. And, you know, like Jacob said, like, spread that ball around. Like, I think we're going to see a different dynamic, even though now we're in the second year of the Autry administration. There's still a lot of question marks. So the Chance Westry X Factor of the Year, completely agree with. I just need to see more from him. So hopefully he can really capitalize on that talent tomorrow against Clarion, which is definitely an inferior opponent.
Yeah, and with that being said, what are your guys' team record predictions for this season?
Oh, dear
What do you
Lord.
think?
Team record predictions. All right, I looked at the schedule. You know, you have some tough games on there, Texas, Tennessee, of course, Duke and UNC, plus the realignment teams like Cal that you're going to have to play, whether it's there, a lot of traveling for both teams. I think I'm going to take them at 21-10 this season,
Oh,
which is
you read my mind.
which you guys have the same record.
That was exactly my prediction.
I mean, I love that. This
yesterday.
team gets back into the tournament,
Yeah.
and we finally get to see a tournament run as Syracuse students. I'm very, very excited, hopefully.
I'm very excited too. Hey, I mean, great minds think alike. I think the same. I just think this combo of like a veteran presence plus the new fresh guys who are here excited to play, and then this recruiting prowess. I mean, it's so exciting for Syracuse to, you know, get back after the Boeheim era and bring in these big names again. I just feel like they're going to be electric, and I'll be able to speak to that tomorrow. I'm doing stats for the game, so I'm super excited to be locked in on this team and see who's really the largest contributor. Gotta agree with the 21-10 prediction. Really, wow, can't believe we're all in agreement on that. But it's going to be an exciting season, and I can't wait to talk more about it on our show, just to see what happens, and hopefully our prediction comes true. I'm looking forward to an NCAA run this year.
Yeah, I love the fact that there's now 5 guys on this offense that can score and can contribute, and it might be a different player every single game, which is very, very exciting and a lot different from last season. I'm very much hoping that I get to see a March Madness run in my time here at school.
With it being especially with it being my senior year, and I still haven't seen the tournament run. I mean,
we deserve it.
Hopeful.
We deserve it. We're due. I think we're due, Ari. All right, we're going to go to break real quick. Newhouse Afternoon. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
Cool.
Nice. Thank you.
Tim
Great
Meza
job.
on the World Series roster for the Yankees.
Great job, guys.
Tim Meza.
Tim Meza. This it was Cortez. It was Nestor for Birdie, which doesn't make sense, but I guess
who for Higgy? Wait, who
for Birdie? Nestor for Birdie on the roster.
So who's going to play first? If
It'll be Rizzo. I guess Waldo if Rizzo comes out.
fair enough.
And then you have Dominguez as the pinch runner.
All right.
All right, that's fine. Whatever. Let's just keep going. We just gotta go. Gotta go. Gotta do it now.
What's your nerves level?
I can't. If I think about it, I'm gonna start shaking.
Anxious.
And
Dude, that was me.
This next segment is going to be fun.
Good.
The last 3 weeks of Mets playoff baseball was
tough.
Yeah, it's definitely a wind full of emotions.
Yeah.
I do want to ask you guys how many games it will go as well.
God, if it go, I don't think my
prediction.
I don't think my heartbeat and like my health can handle like a game 7 Yankees World Series.
Oh my gosh.
I think we should talk about that.
I don't think so. I just think the Yankees I think when you look at I'll obviously talk about it, but like when you look at the pitching, the Yankees have a clear advantage, I think.
Okay. All right. I'm going to ask you guys a few questions.
My dad said
Who do you
Dodgers
think will
in 6.
be MVP? How many runs? Who do you think will hit the most home runs?
It's got to be Soto, most home runs.
Okay.
Giancarlo, if he just keeps it rolling, oh my God.
I want you to say whatever you want about this segment, both of you, but then as soon as you're done, we can do like hot take questions.
Okay.
That's good. I like it.
I like that.
Okay.
Sweet.
Because I know your answer about how many games will it last is going to be good.
God, I'm so nervous. I'm so
I
nervous.
love it.
The Mets took them to 6.
I know.
We'll see. My dad said Dodgers in 6.
I need Yankees in 4. How about that?
Honestly, if it all depends on pitching, man. It all depends on pitching.
It does. Is there an outlet? I never charge my computer.
Okay.
Is it dying?
It's
A little bit.
It should be all right. It should be all
Where
right.
are you at?
I got
It should
12.
make
I
it.
got 12%.
Oh,
not,
you should
we
be
can
good.
share
You
mine.
should be good.
Yeah. If not, I'll just pull this up because the last segment's just my bets, which I have on my phone.
Great.
Evan Phillips, not on the Dodgers World Series roster.
Yep. Which is kind of weird. He was pretty good against us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm frightened. I'm frightened. I'm so scared of
Rattled.
Shohei Ohtani.
Oh, yeah, I
I'm
get
so
that.
scared of
Dude,
Shohei
it's their
Ohtani.
it's so annoying when you give up hits to their 8 and 9 hitters because then you have to go through Ohtani, Betts.
We're the kings of
Freeman.
doing that too. Like, we love doing that. We love giving up hits to 7, 8, 9, getting ourselves in a situation.
Tommy Edman, man, he killed us. He bat like 500 in the whole series.
He's so good. Wait, I just had his
stats were
batting average up.
ridiculous.
It was like 370. He's hitting like ridiculous.
Yeah.
It
was ridiculous.
He's hitting 341 in the postseason.
Yeah, he's
21 total bases.
He was batting.
12 RBIs.
He was batting cleanup against us, and he would kill us.
He's got 12 RBIs. Mookie Betts, 1063 OPS is disgusting. That's crazy.
Watch your favorite ESPN Syracuse sports talk shows on QSportsTalk.com. Tomorrow's broadcasting stars today. Broadcasting live from the campus of Syracuse University. This is Newhouse Afternoon.
Welcome back, Newhouse Afternoon. I'm Jacob Charno, joined with my co-hosts Murray Wainscott and Ari Feinstein, ESPN 97.7 Syracuse and QSportsTalk.com. Guys, I am so excited and so nervous for tonight because it is game 1 of the World Series. My Yankees are in it. They're at the Los Angeles Dodgers. This is probably the biggest World Series since 2016 when the Cubs were in it, without a doubt. I mean, the two biggest teams in baseball, two of the biggest sports franchises in the world. And you have Garrett Cole, the ace for the Yankees, versus Jack Flaherty, one of only 2 pitchers that the Dodgers have on in their starting rotation. This game is going to be very stressful for me. I would love to hear about it from you guys first as non-Yankee fans before I crash out over it. So go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel the energy. I'm nervous too. I'm also really anxious and excited. I just think being in New York, watching the game with fellow New Yorkers and homers of Yankees, it's really exciting, and I want to win for the home state. So I'm super excited. But this is going to be an amazing World Series to watch. Like, the Yankees and the Dodgers are both stacked, obviously, with offensive standouts. They're coming off impressive performances during their respective league championship series. New York dispatched Cleveland in 5 games, thanks to, clutch homers from Soto and the series MVP Giancarlo Stanton. Meanwhile, the Dodgers lineup, they're spearheaded, obviously, by the great Shohei Ohtani and Mookie Betts, and they powered past the Mets in 6 games, scoring 46 home runs. So the most by any team in NLCS history. It's going to be amazing. Like, it's just set up perfectly to be an amazing World Series. Like I mentioned, I'm riding with the Yankees, but I'm quite nervous, and I'm hoping that it doesn't go to 7 games. I'm nervous. What about you, Ari?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, my Mets couldn't pull it off against the Dodgers, but I mean,
Crushing.
It's still going to be a super entertaining World Series. I'm really excited, and one of the things that I think have one of the biggest question marks is the pitching for both sides, because I think, like you said, one of 2 starting pitchers is going tonight. Well, maybe 3 with Walker Buehler, sort of. He'll probably only go 4 innings, but that's going to be the biggest question mark this series, right? Dodgers having to throw potentially 2 bullpen games. So I think if the Yankees, if they can beat up on their bullpen, if they get the starting pitchers Jack Flaherty and Yamamoto and Buehler out super early, so the Dodgers have to rely on that bullpen, I think the Yankees might have the clear advantage here. What do you think?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think when you look at this lineup, 7 of the 9 guys, excluding Jazz Chisholm and Austin Wells, they're all getting up there, having great at-bats every time. Glaber, Volpe, Stanton, Soto, Rizzo, all these guys are just seeing the ball right now, hitting it well. They're all hitting near or above 300. Now it's about doing it when it matters. You can't leave guys on base. You can't. You can't have Giancarlo Stanton and Juan Soto being the only way this team scores. Aaron Judge needs to step up. The bottom of the order needs to step up a little bit when there's guys on base. Get some big hits. Top to bottom, that's what I'm worried about with the Dodgers, because they have their best guys and their 8 and 9 hitters. All of them are hitting. All of them are making an impact. The Yankees have to replicate that if they want to have a chance in this series. But the Yankees World Series roster did just drop, and the much-anticipated return and a much-needed return, I think, of Nestor Cortez. The Yankees are going to carry an extra pitcher. John Birdie's not going to be on the World Series roster, unfortunately, but I think the best path for the Yankees in terms of utilizing Nestor is utilizing him out of the bullpen, because you have your starters. You have Cole, you have Heel, you have Rodon, you have Schmidt, you have all those guys. You don't need another guy in there. Utilizing Nestor situationally, he can come in, face an Ohtani, even though the Dodgers rake off lefties, both in the postseason and the regular season. But utilize Nestor. He can go, 2-3 innings. You don't have to. This is a long series. It is crucial for the Yankees to use those guys, Nestor, Stroman. We haven't seen either of them in the postseason yet, and they've burned through their bullpen in both the series that they've played. We saw the same exact guys go out there. I think we saw Luke Weaver go out there, 3-4 games in a row against the Guardians? I understand it because that's Weave Dog, but you cannot have these guys going out there every single game. You're just burning through them. It makes no sense.
Yeah, and to hop off your point, bullpens are one of the biggest things that matter when it comes to the postseason. If your starting pitcher doesn't have it in the first 2 innings, the manager's going to pull him right away. So being able to get a guy that can eat up 2, 3, 4 innings in one game, scoreless or giving up 1 or 2 runs, that is so big for bullpens just to save arms, because obviously in baseball they play back-to-back days. You don't get any rest. So having guys that are able to eat innings, give some other guys in the bullpen some rest, it just goes a long, long way for teams.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think the bullpenning is definitely worth a conversation here. I think the World Series, this particular one, is going to come down to which team can squeeze the most out of its rotation, as you were mentioning. From this point, I feel like I give the Yankees the slightest of edges here, mostly because I trust Garrett Cole and more than anyone that the Dodgers could send to the mound. But LA's pitching feels to me like it's on fumes, and I feel like the Yankees could capitalize on that and expose that.
At the same time, in their bullpen, we talked about it 2 weeks ago after the Royal series, after Yankees Royals. The Yankees bullpen was nails through the entire postseason, and if it wasn't for one big hit by some guy named Big Christmas, we wouldn't be having any concerns about the Yankees bullpen right now.
Yeah.
And you have, Matt Blake is just a genius of a pitching coach. The fact that he has turned guys like Luke Weaver, who, cut from the Reds, sent all over the place, comes to the Yankees, all of a sudden is our best pitcher and arguably maybe the best pitcher of this postseason so far, which is obscene on another level. But yeah, you just gotta. These guys just gotta keep bearing down. Use these guys situationally. You have guys. You have Tim Hill. You have Jake Cousins, Kirk Cousins' cousin, my favorite thing in the world. But then you also have guys like Tim Meza, who has been warming up for 3 weeks and I think has yet to see innings in a game. So it's just utilizing guys where you need them. Especially Nestor and Stroman. That's going to be crucial for beating Los Angeles.
So we've talked about pitching, right? So I want to take a little bit of a look at their lineups for this series. The one thing that the Dodgers did to the Mets, which ultimately set them over the edge, it wasn't their 1, 2, 3 guys that hurt the Mets. It was their 7, 8, 9 guys, like Kike Hernandez, Tommy Edman. I see him in my nightmares.
What a player!
Yeah.
What a player!
Yeah, of course, against my Mets, of course. But let's say theoretically, Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, they go cold for this series, right? Who are going to be the guys that need to step up for this Yankees team if they're going to win the World Series?
Like I said, 7 of the 9 guys in the lineup are hitting, and it's really the 2 guys that aren't, specifically the guy who was hitting 4 and the guy who was hitting 5 in Austin Wells and Jazz Chisholm. You have Jazz, you make this trade at the deadline, you expect him to be a superstar. You can't be hitting there if you're not hitting the baseball. You can't. Austin Wells, too, he's young, I get it, and he's in a drought, but he has both offensively and defensively, objectively been atrocious this postseason. And it's time to put in Jose Trevino. I understand that you want the righty-on-lefty matchup, but Jose Trevino can hit, and he's a fantastic catcher. The Dodgers are really not going to run on you like that. They're not. They're going to be hitting, and I would rather have someone back there who can call pitches in a postseason game that has been there before.
Got it. What do you think, Maria?
I'm with you guys on both from both ends. I think the pitching's going to be huge. I think we got to talk about the rotation. I think we got to get all those guys firing on all cylinders. I mean, especially if we're going to get the Yankees to wrap this series in less than 7. But on that note, I'm ready to pitch you guys a few questions.
Okay.
I need some hot takes from you, Jacob.
Okay.
I need to hear the rationale from you, Ari. How many games is this going to last?
Yanks in 4. No, obviously not.
Okay.
I'll give him 6. I'll say Yanks in 6 games.
Okay.
So you're not going to like me for this one, Jacob, but I really think that the Dodgers, they're literally the Avengers, man. Like, I just think that they're so dominant in every way. Their hitting just is relentless. They're relentless. Shohei, Mookie, Freeman, he got a lot of time off these last 2 weeks to recover from that high ankle sprain. So he'll be in the lineup. Max Muncy, he made it against...
Max Muncy, had 12 at-bats, 13 at-bats in a row where he got on base?
Where he got on base. Tommy Edman, man. Killing us. Kike Hernandez, who's literally known for his performances in October. This whole team is just going to be relentless, and I don't think they're going to slow down in the World Series. So, Jacob, I'm sorry to tell you, but I think I got the Dodgers in 6.
I mean, it's going. I mean, we both say it's going 6 games.
Yeah.
And I think we'll have. I think the reality is we'll have a very clear sight of things after Game 1.
Yeah.
I really think so, because you have the Yankees burning Garrett. You have the Dodgers using Flaherty. This is arguably the most crucial game of the series tonight.
I agree. It's going to set the tone.
One thing that I do think the Yankees need to do, which is something that the Mets did but they couldn't capitalize on it, is that they have to only take one game in LA.
Yeah, you have to win. If they can win tonight in LA, I am feeling really good about the rest of the series, because then if it goes to 5 games,
it goes back to New York.
Back to New York.
And if you're not familiar with the playoff format, it's 2 at the home team, then it's 3 games at the away team, and then if the series keeps going from then on, it's 2 more back at where the home ballpark was.
World Series baseball belongs in the Bronx. I am so excited for this game.
I love it. Okay, rapid fire. Who's going to hit the most home runs, and who's going to win World Series MVP?
Giancarlo Stanton. He's going to keep it rolling.
I got to go Shohei. He's been the MVP. That's the most hated answer I know, but Shohei.
I'm so scared of Shohei Ohtani.
He loves the big lights.
I'm so scared of him. He's so good.
He loves the big lights, so I feel like it's got to be Shohei.
Yeah. Oh, damn. Damn. This is really tough. All right, we're going to go to break real quick. Newhouse Afternoon, and we'll be back just a few minutes.
Sweet.
Great job, y'all. Love it. Got some great back and forth there. I love that. Good job, squad.
I think this was just like the conversation that I'm going to have with probably my dad.
Your friends. Perfect.
Yeah, my
love
friends.
It. I love it.
It was the exact, that's how it goes.
Love it.
I'm so confident. I'm not confident at all.
I know.
And I'm so confident at the same time. This has to be the year.
I love like the tempering of like energy. Yeah.
Do it for Didi.
Yes.
Do it for Gardy. You got to do it for these guys. Greg Bird, why not?
Greg Bird,
why not?
That's a crazy poll.
Aaron Hicks, do it for Aaron Hicks. You know what Aaron Hicks went through in New York?
Yeah, trust me. And Joey Gallo.
I don't know. Joey Gallo doesn't deserve it. Worst baseball player I've ever seen in my life. In New York.
Fair.
Not built for New York.
Fair.
Not a big market player.
I think that was our best segment so far.
That was great.
That was quite fun.
All right, Maria.
I think you guys did great.
I can yap about this team for hours.
Forever.
Yap about it.
I love it.
All right, Maria. This one is going to be all you for the most part.
I'm going to obviously ask you guys about stuff.
Which games did you say you had?
LSU, Texas A&M.
I have one of my bets is in that game, which is awesome.
Missouri, Alabama.
I did not bet on that one.
It's okay. Notre Dame, Navy.
That's like going to be.
That's going to be a good game.
That's like if you're a Notre Dame fan. That's a scary game.
That's a scary game for me.
Yeah, that's definitely
a really scary game for me. Yeah.
Navy's defense.
That's a horrifying game. I mean, that's going to be scary.
We still don't know if Notre Dame can throw the ball.
They can't. They cannot
we
throw
don't
the ball.
know.
Did you see? I mean, the first play of last week was an interception. Actually, it was a pick 6. We're just going around lately.
My dad texts me and goes, "You would have been disowned if you picked the Yanks." Great segment, though.
Great segment. hopefully I didn't sound super.
I mean, if I picked anything that wasn't the Yankees in
You would
6,
also be disowned.
the Yankees in 5 would be fantastic.
That would be fantastic.
Stealing one in LA.
Yankees in 4 was
Stealing
amazing.
one in LA. That's all you got to do.
We'll steal both in LA.
If you do that, then that'll be even crazier.
That's yeah.
Yeah, so I'll run through these 3 matchups.
Do you guys want to preview the Jets-Giants stuff too?
Sure.
While we're at it,
Yeah, we can.
we
Should
can
we-
throw it out there. Well, we can just rapid fire through
'Kay.
these games. I think
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
I mean,
Yeah.
who are the Jets playing this week?
the Pats in New England.
Oh, they should win that game.
Okay, so do you want me to lead with all of these quick? Do you want me to lead with all these quick predictions, and then we can wrap with that?
Yeah,
Okay.
that plays.
Okay.
I'm gonna write some stuff down for that.
Okay.
I think we should get an audience. Should we tell them to come inside?
Yeah.
What's up, Caleb? All right, guys, let's do this. Let's wrap it up. I don't really have a lot of notes on the
It's all good.
college.
I'll
Yeah.
give you guys the rundown, and I'll just be like, "What are you thinking?" Because I'll give a little spiel on why I'm giving this take, and then you can say like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
You guys are on Monday Night Football, right? Against Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
Bet.
go Steelers."
Gonna lose that game.
I love the Steelers.
Hello, Tours. Hello.
You.
ESPN 97.7 and 100.1. Watch live on QSportsTalk.com. Tomorrow's broadcasting stars today. Broadcasting live from the campus of Syracuse University. This is Newhouse Afternoon.
Welcome back, Newhouse Afternoon, ESPN 97.7 Syracuse and QSportsTalk.com. I'm Jacob Charno, joined with Maria Wainscott and Ari Feinstein. We opened the show with college football, and we closed the show with some college football. So with that being said, I'm very excited for this week of CFB games. Let's start. Maria, what game you got for us first?
All right, so we're going to look at 3 top 25 matchups this weekend. We've got a lot of great college football, as we've had in the past couple weeks, but these games that are coming up in week 9 have a lot on the line. There's a lot to lose. A lot of teams could be eliminated from college football playoff contention. So let's start diving in with LSU number 8 versus number 14 Texas A&M. The biggest storyline I need you to take away from this is first place in the SEC is on the line in this top 15 matchup. LSU and Texas A&M are both ranked 4th and 5th highest in the SEC. This game is still massive in determining who could be playing in Atlanta for the conference championship. So that's sort of the stakes that exist within the conference, but there's a lot on the line too in terms of playoff contention. My own take on who wins this matchup, I think if LSU wins this battle in pass protection, Nussmeier is going to have the needed time to work within the pocket, which is dangerous considering his prowess in throwing down the middle of the field, which the Aggies really struggle to defend. My team, Notre Dame, struggled with that already. We saw that, and already in a quarterback in Riley Leonard who can't throw the ball. We'll get there later. But disrupting Nussmeier's rhythm will be paramount to Texas A&M and the Aggies' success. Something interesting, though, that I really need to point out, in most cases, increasing the pressure on a quarterback is going to decrease their productivity and their performance. But instead of having time in the pocket to scan the field and throw down the field to an open receiver, you're not having a stable platform. You're basically throwing blind. But Texas A&M's quarterback Connor Wegman is apparently most comfortable in those uncomfortable situations where he's not having time to throw the ball. His 81% PFF grade under pressure in this year's performances is 4th among FBS quarterbacks this year. When he's kept clean, though, that figure falls to 56%. So the 3rd worst in America and the worst in the Power 4. So, depending on how this game goes and what kind of protection is on these quarterbacks, things could go completely different. I do think LSU's defense has been better lately, and it's easier to trust Garrett Nussmeier rather than Connor Wegman here. So I'm going with the Tigers escaping from Kyle Field with a win. LSU 27, Texas A&M 24. What are you guys thinking about that?
So as far as this game goes, I think you hit it right on the head right here. Is that he struggles when there's no pressure, and he doesn't struggle when there is pressure. So LSU's defense this whole season has just been so dominant, right? So if they just sit back in coverage, play man-to-man zone without giving it maybe a blitz here and there every once in a while, just to throw them off a little bit. But I think if they just stick to their game plan of just playing regular old defense, then this game will give them the win. Honestly.
I know, I agree.
Yeah, that stat's very interesting to me because I think when you look at it, it's more the fact that they have a safety valve for him when you start to see that pressure happen, and he might just not be that great. He just takes what he gets, and in college football that works, but I think LSU is absolutely going to take advantage of that. I think they'll scheme for it, and this was my first bet actually of the week. I'm going to take LSU on the money line at plus 100.
Okay, love that one.
I like it.
All right, moving on to another top 25 matchup. It's number 21 Missouri versus number 15 Alabama. Big storyline here. The loser of this game sees its college football playoff dreams all but die. Tough, right?
Yeah.
Alabama was served.
So tough.
That's cutthroat.
It's really cutthroat. Alabama was served its 2nd loss in 3 games this past weekend against Tennessee. Since it's highly unlikely that a 3-team loss can get into the 12-team football playoff, it's super unlikely that the Crimson Tide are going to make it in if they can't pull away from Missouri this weekend with a win. While Missouri only has 1 loss, the Tigers were blown out by Texas A&M, who we just talked about, and they needed an 11-point comeback to beat Auburn this past week, who's currently 2-5. So an interesting matchup we've got going on. I think, the prediction is pretty clear here, but let me get into why I think the better team is going to win this weekend. We've seen enough of Jalen Milroe this season to know what is the formula to beat him, right? Prevent him from completing deep passes by any means necessary, and you've got a chance to disrupt this Alabama offense. Prior to the South Carolina game, Milroe posted a 92% passing grade, leading FBS. And against South Carolina and Tennessee, he completed just 1 of his 8 deep passes, and he earned a 46% passing grade on both of those throws. So he's really struggled when he's getting shut down, when there's pressure in the pocket. So we'll see how that goes. But Missouri still has so many quarterback questions too. So even if they shut down Jalen Milroe on the offense, which their defense I think can do, Missouri still has so many issues at quarterback. They had Drew Pine in last week. Now they've got Cook coming back, and we just don't know what we're going to see from him. He's not going to be comfortable, in my opinion. I'm taking Alabama 28, Missouri 20.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm gonna take Bama in this one too. I think Missouri's win last week was fluky and it was weird and I didn't like it, so I'm gonna take Bama this week because I believe in Jalen Milroe. That's why. Totally
understood. Yeah, we got Drew Pine in there from Notre Dame, who transferred to Missouri after transferring to ASU, and he brought the win for the Missouri Tigers. And I think now with Drew Pine out of center, I think it's gonna be a fluke, and I think Alabama takes this one.
Yeah, and going off that, I think Alabama, they respond to adversity well.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen Alabama the last however many years. They've always been able to just come back and bounce back from tough losses. And I really think after last week's loss, I think they're going to be ready to go and, like Syracuse, just show their identity again and show the world who they really are.
Agreed completely. I mean, Kalen DeBoer, he's not going to take this laying down. So I'm excited for them to get right again. All right, really quickly here, we're going to go through number 12 Notre Dame versus number 24 Navy. This is a really exciting game. Obviously, I have my allegiance to Notre Dame, but I think anytime you're going up against a military academy, there's just more fight in the game. Yep. So my biggest storyline here, we're taking away how legit are these military academies. Both Navy and Army are a legitimate group of 5 contenders. They're playoff contenders this year, which is unbelievable. They're both undefeated for the first time in the first half of the season, and it's the first time since 1960 that both of them are ranked on the same poll. They're both on the AP poll. Really exciting, and Notre Dame's going to have to go up against both of them in the next coming weeks. I'm really interested. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen here, but some stats that could bode well for the Irish. The bread and butter of this offense is the run game, right? We've seen that with Riley Leonard, and it's almost come to our detriment. I mean, that tough loss to NIU was handed to us because we couldn't get an air raid attack moving. But as a team, Notre Dame is third in the FBS in yards after contact per attempt. Jeremiah Love, our running back, is just elite in that category. He has the second best forced missed tackle rate in FBS, so 45%. People just can't tackle him. He's super elusive, and I think that's going to be key against this Navy team that is playing a completely new offense this year, completely new defense this year. They're going to go up against powerhouse in Notre Dame, and I think they're going to fall short. It's Notre Dame 24, Navy 20.
I like that. I like Notre Dame in this one too.
Yeah, it's going to be a closer one than I think. Not going to be an easy one to watch.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, it's crazy that both Army and Navy are still undefeated.
It's unbelievable.
It's awesome. America. That's America.
That'll make for an awesome rivalry week when the two face off against one another.
It's going to be amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So real quick, we'll go through Jets and Giants both play this weekend. The Jets are at the Patriots. Back at 1 p.m. This team is my team, and they have no fire. They're bad. Is Aaron Rodgers washed? Maybe. But I think it's a bigger theme to just change your expectations for this team, but I got them winning on Sunday against the Pats. Giants, Steelers, Monday Night Football. The Steelers, just wipe the floor with my football team, so I don't really know, but I have a feeling they might do the same thing with yours, Ari. I'm sorry.
It's the same story every week. Here's a crazy prediction for you guys. I think Daniel Jones, he gets 1/2 in this game. Not even. I think he might get a quarter.
I've been saying for weeks, since before the season, just throw Drew Lock out there. See what he can do. Why not? Why not?
It's
someone who can get the ball to Malik Neighbors and really let him utilize. Wan'Dale Robinson, I think, is a great talent. Someone needs to get these guys the ball and not just in a way where they're getting receptions, in a way that they're making an impact down the field in the game on offense. Daniel Jones just doesn't do that for this team.
Last week, the Giants went down 7-0, and I thought, wow, this lead is insurmountable.
This game is over. That's what I'm saying.
This game is insurmountable.
I'll leave you with a one-liner and a good luck. My Steelers are going to take you guys down. Beware of the Pittsburgh secondary.
I doubted one Pittsburgh team this past week, and I'm definitely not going to do it again.
Real quick, I'll give my NFL parlay for this week. It's at plus 355, Packers money line, Bills money line, Cowboys plus 4.5 at the Niners. Niners are banged up. I think the Cowboys can maybe get a bounce back week. But anyway, thank you everyone for watching Newhouse Afternoon. Jacob Trino, Maria Wainscott, Ari Feinstein. We will see you all in 2 weeks.